Hi, everyone, and welcome to my presentation for Botanica Obscura Conference 2026. My name is Coby Michael, and I am an occult herbalist and poison path practitioner, specializing in the ritual and ceremonial use of poisonous and psychoactive plants. I am author of The Poison Path Herbal, The Poison Path Grimoire, and the newest, The Poison Path Oracle, which will be my latest book and topic of today's presentation. The book will be out on March 31st, 2026. So today I'll be talking about a few different members of the nightshade family and their uses in divinatory practice. So, what we call the poison path is a particular interest in plants that have a potent chemistry. Poison is a very abstract and oftentimes subjective sort of a thing. So it's something that exists, like many other things, on a very broad spectrum. So poison doesn't always ultimately equate to something that can kill you, which would be one extreme end of the spectrum. Things like poison hemlock, wolf's bane, other aconites, hellebore, digitalis or foxglove, plants that do have medicinal properties, but in the wrong contexts and the incorrect dosages can cause death in all sorts of various different ways. And then we have plants on the other end of the spectrum, plants that cause uncomfortable and unwanted side effects. These could be things like poison oak, poison ivy, poison sumac, um, plants that cause skin irritation, dermatitis, even things like rue, which can cause photosensitivity that can result in rashes and blistering with sun exposure. To things like using the nightshade family as an example, which is also the source of some of our most important foods like tomatoes, potatoes, eggplants, peppers. If you've ever eaten an unripe potato and gotten a stomach ache, or maybe even have a general nightshade sensitivity that causes different digestive issues and upsets if you consume plants in the nightshade family. If they're not prepared in a specific way, causing nausea, stomach pain, just all sorts of digestive issues, things like that. We can also group under the category of poison. And plants that act or occupy a middle category, things that we would consider psychoactive, psychedelic, consciousness altering, still having that potent chemistry, that ability to create very dramatic changes within living organisms, but not necessarily something that is going to, lead to respiratory failure or cardiac arrest or seizures, coma, death, that sort of thing. So it's a very broad spectrum of different plant effects, and of course, fungi kind of go in with that category as well. We've got the medicinal edible mushrooms that are used in cooking, medicines. We've got the other end, the very, deadly drop down and kill you kind of mushrooms like the death cap, the destroying angel. and then sort of the middle ground when we consider the wide variety of different psychoactive mushrooms in the psilocybin group, as well as the amanitas. Still potentially capable of causing some unwanted or uncomfortable side effects, nausea, vomiting, things like that. Um, but not necessarily on that more deadly end of the poisonous spectrum. So, poison is a very broad category of things. It is a word that we use in a variety of different ways, metaphorically as an adjective, not only to describe, poisonous plants and poisonous mushrooms and venomous animals, but also to describe people and situations and kind of you name it. So poison is a very, very powerful linguistic and literary tool that can represent a whole lot of different things. So in this case, we are focusing on poisonous members of the nightshade family. Poisonous in the sense that they are members of the nightshade family that have a very potent chemistry. So we'll be talking about black henbane, datura, deadly nightshade, and mandrake. So while these do occupy the more baneful and potentially harmful end of the spectrum, these plants also have a very long and extensive history of use when it comes to their medicinal properties. So to call them poison is not to um, put them in such a dramatic position as to say that, working with them on any kind of physical level is just, too risky, but something that should be done with, attention and care and understanding. But looking to, the medicinal precedents in traditional herbalism, as well as other different cultural practices around the world, we see that these plants are and have been consumed in a variety of different ways for different purposes, with relative safety. So we'll be talking about their use in the context of divination, spirit communication, and trance work. So because they are poisonous, because they have this connection to death, that makes them especially transgressive. So transgressive being breaking taboos, going against the norm, doing something that society or like even our own consciousness and inner monologue would tell us, that we shouldn't be doing, or maybe that we should rethink. Crossing those boundaries creates really profound shifts in consciousness and in witchcraft and magical practice, spiritual tradition in general. These transgressive acts, these initiatory experiences allow us to connect with the other, to really tap into the spirit world, which is what makes these plants such potent allies for divinatory practice, regardless of how we work with them. So there are a myriad of different ways to work with and connect to these plants in a spiritual capacity. They don't all have to require any kind of internal ingestion. Although that is, one of the options. There are also lots of vibrational and sympathetic ways that we can connect with the energy and the consciousness that is um, present in these plant allies. So when we embark on these transgressive acts, we create a shift in our consciousness and a shift in our energy that lets us tap into the spirit world. Magical practitioners throughout history have been seen to work with a wide array of spirits, angels, demons, deities, fairies, and familiar spirits. Working with the spirit world for various ends is one of the key characteristics that all magical practitioners have in common. From an animistic worldview, all things have spirits. It's interesting then that in Western esoteric traditions since antiquity, plants have played an important role in occult practices. However, not much attention has been paid to the spirits that inhabit them. Plants and plant derivatives figure as ingredients in ritual fumigations and flying ointments. They are given as offerings and taken for their entheogenic effects, but there's little mention of the consciousness that inhabits them. So a lot of the plants in this category, because of their psychoactive properties, get put under the label of entheogen. Entheogen is basically an alternative word for psychedelic. It means to generate or create the divine within. So to be able to have divine experiences by connecting to that divinity through one's, sort of internal environment and ecosystem through these different consciousness altering experiences. So everything from magic mushrooms to LSD to MDMA to deadly nightshade to tobacco to you name it, any plant with a potentially psychoactive property can fall under this category of entheogen. So in the ancient world, entheogens would be used in community rites and ceremonies, such as the rites of Eleusis, to connect with the spirit world, to connect to the divine. Oftentimes, these were used in the context of, personal healing or, journeying to connect with the ancestors or to retrieve some type of information from the spirit world to help the living person that was going on the journey or having this initiatory experience. The existence of plant spirits and the role that they play is a common feature of animistic belief systems found in indigenous cultures around the world and is an integral and inseparable part of how these plants are understood to work medicinally and spiritually. The spiritual component is inseparable from the physical component. This understanding is beginning to reemerge in the wider magical community as we see the return of the animistic understanding of the world that we are part of. So these plants and fungi that we work with for entheogenic purposes are acting as intermediaries between us and other consciousnesses, other entities. For me personally, plant spirits are easier to communicate with, and that is why they act as intermediaries or kind of go-betweens between some of these other forms of consciousness that are a little bit less relatable to a human perspective. So they help us and our ritual spaces resonate with the frequency of the forces that we seek to connect with. Plants are emissaries of planetary, elemental, and divine energies rooted in the realm of the ancestors and reaching upwards like antennae to the celestial realm. While their physical bodies exist in the physical realm, they simultaneously exist in the upper and lower worlds as well. We can work with plant spirits just like we can work with any other spirit, and through their green wisdom, we can accomplish great things. Plants are often on the periphery of one's magical practice, serving as a means to a greater end, but for some, they are of central focus. And I would imagine that that is something in common with a lot of people attending this conference today and this weekend. We often speak of plants being under the rulership of this planetary energy, or this plant was traditionally associated with this deity, but I believe this works both ways. Plants under the rulership of Saturn are just as much rulers of the energies related to Saturn as is the planetary influence itself. Herbs used as offerings for specific spirits attract them and bind them, making our intentions and requests known. It is through the influence of the plant spirit that an herb, wood, or resin works to achieve a specific end. Instead of thinking poisonous plants are associated with Hecate, perhaps it is Hecate that is associated with them. Plants, after all, were present before any of the deities or spirits that humans have named. My goal with pointing this out is not to diminish or disrespect the gods or any other spiritual agency, but to emphasize the importance of plant spirits among them. Plants, just like any deity, angelic, demonic, or planetary spirit, have their own sphere of influence. Each plant spirit has a diverse collection of correspondences, ways of working with them, and other entities that they connect to. Plant spirits are also easier to connect with because of our ability to merge with our physical bodies through ingestion, whether via eating, drinking, smelling, smoking, or absorption in some other way. There are all of these ways that we can literally connect with these sentient beings on a physical and spiritual level. And they elicit all sorts of physical responses when we come into contact with them. And it is through the physical stimuli that we are able to gain an intimate understanding of their spirits. And now enter the nightshade family. So like I mentioned at the beginning, the nightshade family is a very important, perhaps the most important plant group. It consists of things like potato, tomato, eggplant, peppers, tobacco, deadly nightshade, datura, mandrake, black henbane. So a very, very broad category of plants, everything from some of our most important and sort of staple food products, to plants that contain some of the world's most important medicines. Um, very important also, in economics and trade as commodities and things like that. So it's a very, very important and influential group of plants. Members of the nightshade family grow on every continent on the globe, except, of course, Antarctica because everything is frozen down there. But they are ubiquitous. And when it comes to the plants of the poison path, I have a special place in my heart for the nightshade family. It is arguably the world's most important plant family, like I mentioned. And it's also the most important plant family when it comes to its ceremonial and spiritual uses. And we see members of this family used in this context, no matter where on earth they are found. From tobacco to mandrake to the beloved datura genus, nightshades are the world's power plants. They are the plants of fate. The fates are powerful and primordial forces known by many names. They are commonly depicted as a group of three female figures, often described as being sisters. They may be three aspects of an ancient prehistoric goddess or three individual figures. Their origins are murky and reach back to the farthest depths of human history. When it comes to plants, there are none who embody these forces more than the potent members of the nightshade family. I consider deadly nightshade, henbane, and thornapple as the three sisters of this family that is also known as the Solanaceae. Deadly nightshade, or Atropa belladonna, is named after the Greek fate Atropos, the one who cuts the cord at the end of a person's life. Associated with the future, Atropos is there at the end. Deadly nightshade helps us to peer into the murky waters of the uncertain future and deep within ourselves to gain insight into what is yet to come. Black henbane, Hyoscyamus niger, appears to me as the most jovial of the members of this great family, potato and tomato aside. Henbane is the traveler between the worlds, operating in the middle realm, able to cross the thresholds to the lower and upper worlds. For this reason, I associate henbane with the present moment. It has been used in both aphrodisiac and intoxicating formulas to help humans enjoy the pleasures of life, and magically to help spirits manifest in our world so that we may communicate with them. Thornapple, Datura stramonium, as well as the other varieties in the Datura genus, are the nightshades that I connect to the past. As a plant ally, Datura helps us to see things from multiple perspectives. It can help us journey into our past lives and also explore our ancestral lineages in order to heal and transmute trauma and spiritual toxins. Thornapple goes by many names and is often generally referred to as Datura, and it is an important ceremonial, medicinal, and magical plant all over the world. While it has a variety of physical forms, all of its varieties share similar medicinal and spiritual uses. And then, of course, we can't talk about the magical nightshades without talking about mandrake. Mandrake also belongs to this family and could equally be considered a plant of fate, but in my opinion, exists in a category all its own. Um, these are the plants of the witch's garden, and they contain powerful medicine and magic. They can relieve pain and bring sleep, but are also potentially deadly. These plants will be our guides throughout this journey, and we will also encounter some other plant and mushroom allies along the way that have also earned their place here. But for me, the plants in the nightshade or Solanaceae family have become my most important allies in divination and magical practice. So, in the mid 20th century, a German toxicologist by the name of Gustav Schenk wrote a book called The Book of Poisons. The Book of Poisons describes the importance of the nightshade family, saying, quote, "From the earliest times, they have been the true magic plants, able to put the human mind into states it could never enter and experience without them. The power of the nightshade is utilized in every country and every continent." So in the following sections, we're going to explore these powerful plants in depth, looking at their medicinal actions and applications, also to provide a reference point when it comes to how these plants have been used in herbal medicine, which informs us on how to begin safely working with them in spiritual practice. So the first one we have is black henbane. Black henbane, intermediary to the spirit world. So the use of henbane can be traced back to prehistoric times. It is commonly discovered at archaeological sites. It is considered a weed of cultivation because it migrates with ancient farming communities, growing in the favorable, nutrient-rich conditions of the soils. The oldest finds of black henbane in association with human settlements come from the Bandaramic culture, which existed between 5500 BCE and 4500 BCE throughout northwestern Europe. Seeds have been found in wells, offertory wells in Sachsen, Germany, at various archaeological sites, along with other plant species used for food, medicine, and textiles. When found in containers or at sites associated with human settlements, this indicates the intentional use and cultivation of the plant. One such example is a hollow bone containing over 1,000 seeds of Hyoscyamus niger that was discovered at the ancient Roman site of Houten Castellum in the Netherlands and is a prime example of this intentional use. Henbane seeds have also been discovered at hospital sites throughout northwestern Europe as well. And the plant was also used by the ancient Egyptians as well as in Ayurvedic medicine. Called Herba apollinaris by the Romans, Pythonion by the Greeks, and Belenuntia by the Celts, who associated with their own oracular solar god Belenos, through this linguistic connection is often associated with the priestess of the oracle at Delphi, the Pythia. Henbane was an important herb of divination in antiquity. For this purpose, the smoke from the herb or seeds was inhaled by Pythias, Sibyls, prophets, and Germanic Alrunas. Henbane was an important sacred plant to the Germanic people, and knowledge of its use was carried throughout Europe since prehistoric times. The famous archaeological discovery, known as the Furkat woman, was buried with a pouch full of henbane seeds, indicating a ceremonial use of the herb. This discovery dates to around 980 CE and was discovered in Jutland, Denmark. Based on the other findings at the grave, including an iron staff and a box containing small animal bones, this woman would have been an important figure and was believed to have been a traveling seer known as a vulva. These traveling oracles would roam the countryside, dispensing prophecies, and were both respected and feared for their power. The seeds of henbane appear to have played a role in their divinatory practice. While all of the poisonous plants in the nightshade family have a connection to death, this connection is most pronounced in black henbane. It was scattered on tombs and used in funerary rituals throughout the ancient world. It was believed that the dead were crowned with chaplets of henbane as they made their journey um, through the Greek underworld. Henbane also plays an important role in the ritual formulas used by ceremonial magicians, working within the grimoire tradition. Henbane was used in fumigations to summon spirits and was mixed with hemlock and sweet resins like benzoin and frankincense. It was combined with mandrake, opium, and other soporific or sleep-inducing herbs to create smoke that would allow one to enter a deep, death-like sleep. Gustav Schenk, the German toxicologist that I mentioned above, writes about his firsthand experience with henbane seeds in 1955. It shows the typical symptoms of tropane alkaloid toxicity and some really interesting visionary experiences that have interesting correlations to medieval descriptions of the wild hunt and the witch's Sabbath. He begins by expressing his desire to gain a deeper understanding of the plant and its effects. Quoting, I wanted to take a virulent poison in order to observe its effects and draw closer to the plant, and at the same time test my body's resistance to this alien force, end quote. So this was obviously a risky endeavor, and as we will see in his account, one that is not without its uncomfortable side effects. Schenk mentions harvesting the seeds from black henbane. However, there's no mention of specific amounts or whether or not he dried the seeds, but it is assumed that the seeds were collected when mature and already dried. He points out that the best way to liberate and absorb the hyoscyamine, one of the active tropane alkaloids within the henbane seeds, was through inhalation via roasting the seeds on an iron plate over an open flame. There are numerous mentions of the seeds being consumed in this way in various parts of the world, whether added to smoking blends or burned as incense or roasted over hot coals for their intoxicating effects. The reason for this, the reason for his not recollecting the amount that he used was attributed to the amnesic effects, which are characteristic of the tropane alkaloid toxicity, and he expressed that there were wide gaps in his recollection of the black madness induced by henbane. I can attest to that. The tropane alkaloids in larger doses do have, along with a lot of other uncomfortable side effects, have an amnesic quality. So this in and of itself is the reason that they're not associated with more recreationally used entheogens, so things like cannabis, magic mushrooms, stuff that's a little bit more enjoyable. The tropane alkaloid containing plants have a lot of uncomfortable side effects. And along with that, produce a kind of amnesia. So that can make it difficult, especially when you're trying to work with these in a spiritual capacity, whether that is, keeping your shit together enough to go through an entire ritual, or, in the case of divination, the whole point is to perform the divination to be able to recover some kind of information to then use that information. Well, if you can't remember anything because of amnesia, it kind of defeats the purpose. So in these higher doses, they become a little bit, impractical for that type of use. So he inhales the smoke produced by the seeds and almost immediately begins to notice their effects, including changes in motor function of the limbs, headache, giddiness, dilation of pupils, hazy vision, amnesia, flushed skin, dry mouth, increased heart rate, and changes in hearing are also mentioned. These are all characteristic symptoms of the anticholinergic effects of the tropane alkaloids. Continuing his description of his experience, he mentions losing the ability to focus his vision and alternating between a sense of dread and amusement. Quote, so demoniacal and overpowering that the impression it made upon me is beyond description. In addition to his visual and auditory disturbances, he goes on to describe a variety of hallucinations. In the case of tropane alkaloids, the hallucinations are more akin to a temporary chemically induced psychosis, in contrast to the visual hallucinations caused by classical psychedelics like LSD, psilocybin, and DMT. The delirium and amnesic effects of the tropane alkaloids are such that the person forgets or is not able to comprehend in the moment that what they're seeing is not real. So these would be, by definition, like true hallucinations. So the person that's experiencing them is not necessarily aware at the time of the hallucination that what they're seeing is not part of their reality. It's interesting to note that the content of these hallucinations that he describes, because they're reminiscent of medieval accounts of the Wild Hunt, which was the nocturnal procession of various human, animal, and spiritual beings flying through the night sky, which was the basis for ideas surrounding the witches' Sabbath. He mentioned seeing animals with contorted grimaces, flying stones, and clouds of mist, as well as a dull gray glow that rolled upwards into a black, smoky sky. He describes seeing blood-red water flowing above him, and the sky being filled with herds of animals, as well as fluid and formless creatures emerging from the darkness. Many depictions of witches in the Middle Ages, if you've seen the illustration by Hans Boldung, the witches sitting around their cauldron, and all of the smoke and whatever else is like billowing up out of the cauldron is reminiscent of what he describes in this experience. So it makes one wonder if the majority of accounts relating to the medieval witch's flying ointment come from some kind of solanaceous preparation containing plants in the nightshade family, all of which are reported to induce these similar experiences, whether as an ointment applied to the skin or a ritual fumigation inhaled for its psychoactive effects. While a lot of the well, probably all of the surviving records regarding this are questionable when it comes to their sources. Not only because so many of the accounts were extracted under some kind of torture, or were being written about by people that were not actually the ones, engaging in these acts. We kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, but the ubiquitousness and importance of these plants and widespread knowledge of their medicinal uses leads me to believe that people, whether they identified as witches or not, probably not, were definitely using these plants or aware of their psychoactive properties. So, henbane has been used for its medicinal action as an analgesic, antispasmodic, antisecretory, anti-inflammatory, anticholinergic, mydriatic, sedative, soporific, and narcotic. It has been applied for its medicinal effects in a variety of ways in Western herbalism as well as Ayurvedic medicine. The smoke of henbane in particular was inhaled as a common treatment for toothache as well as respiratory issues, which is something that we see in common with other members of the nightshade family, such as thornapple and deadly nightshade as well. Henbane tincture has been used to soothe headaches when applied to the temples and has been used internally to successfully treat abdominal pain as well as other gastrointestinal issues. Henbane has been used to treat nervous disorders and is still used for this in homeopathy under the name hyoscyamus. Topically, plasters, ointments, and poultices of henbane have been applied to the stomach to treat abdominal pain. Henbane shares a similar chemical composition to other related members of the nightshade family. The tropane alkaloids are the plant's main active alkaloids, which give them their medicinal and also their potentially poisonous effects. These include hyoscyamine, atropine, scopolamine, with the majority of henbane's tropane alkaloids found in the aerial parts, being the leaves and the seeds. Over the centuries, henbane has been a regular companion of humanity, enjoying both recreational and medicinal uses. Henbane has been known for its inebriating and aphrodisiac effects since prehistoric times and has been used both medicinally and ceremonially for thousands of years. Because of its psychoactive and aphrodisiac effects, henbane was commonly burned in bathhouses to enhance the erotic atmosphere, lowering inhibitions. It is also known for its use in beer brewing historically and was added to increase the potency of alcoholic beverages. There are various mentions of henbane being used in ritual fumigations and smoking blends for its visionary effects. Usually the seeds are used for this purpose. Some of the perceptual changes experienced with henbane are distortions of time, sensations of heaviness and expansion, sensing of other presences, as well as an aura of foreboding and hearing voices. Black henbane has long played a role as one of the most important divinatory herbs. Henbane's primary magical use is as a divinatory herb, specifically in necromancy and other forms of spirit communication. It was used as a ritual fumigation in ceremonial magic for summoning and seeing spirits in medieval Europe, which is a use that continued into the 20th century. Henbane can also be used in incense blends to fumigate or made into infusions to wash and consecrate divinatory tools, bones, or other implements used to communicate with the dead. As an entheogen, henbane encourages visionary states, trance, and otherworld travel. Henbane can be applied topically in the form of an anointing oil or ointment to help relax and induce deeper trance states. It can also be burned either by itself or as part of a formula as a ritual fumigation for the same purposes. This is probably the most common and also my favorite way of working with henbane. Kind of makes sense that it's the most popular and also the most traditional, most effective way to absorb the tropane alkaloids in henbane through its use as a ritual fumigation. It's particularly well suited for mirror scrying, smoke scrying, any kind of divination practice where you are gazing into some kind of a, reflective medium or, even like candlelight or doing like shadow divination. Using it as a fumigation or incense in this context is also one of the safer ways of working with the plant, as opposed to oral ingestion. Next, we come to deadly nightshade. The genus Atropa, to which Atropa belladonna or deadly nightshade gets its name, is just the beginning of this plant's connection to fate. In ancient Greek mythology, the three fates, or the Moirai, are daughters of the primordial goddess of night, Nyx, who is also mother to Hypnos, the god of sleep, and the Oniroi, who bring dreams. Hecate is also considered a goddess of night and thereby a sibling of the Moirai. This genus was also once the name for mandrake, Atropa mandragora, which indicates some confusion between these two powerful members of the nightshade family and the possibility of overlap between their magical uses. It is possible that mandrake may have referred to a number of magical roots with humanoid shapes, including but not limited to what we know today as Mandragora officinarum, autumnalis, turcomanica, etc. In the book Witchcraft Medicine, Mandragora officinarum is connected to Venus through her epithet Mandragoritas, while the mandrake of Hecate is designated as Atropa belladonna. Both species have been confused with each other since the earliest of times. Perhaps not necessarily a confusion, but an indication of both plants' magical interchangeability and potency of spirit. In Romania, Matragunia refers to mandrake in the form of Atropa belladonna, where it grows natively and is approached in ritual in similar ways to Mandragora officinarum in the Mediterranean. The Matragunia is sought out for magical purposes and invoked as such. Lady Mandragora, with honey I will anoint you, with wine I will sprinkle you, with sugar I will sweeten you, and with bread I will feed you. The root of deadly nightshade was likely used in a similar manner as mandrake, and in some cases as a substitute. It was used in folk magic to see ghosts, to communicate with spirits, foretell the future, and induce clairvoyance. Deadly nightshade was attributed the ability to assist in dreaming, spirit visions, phantasms, and conjuration. In Norse mythology, the Norns, which serve a similar role as the Greek fates, are connected to the Valkyries, which are also related to fate through their functions and role in the death process as psychopomps. In German, Atropa belladonna and its close relative Scopolia carniolica are known as Walkerbaum and Walkerbier. These names are said to derive from the word Valkyrie or Valkyrie. Like the Valkyries, deadly nightshade also plays a role in the death and rebirth process as a plant spirit ally. Spirit sight and deadly nightshade. One of the key characteristics of tropane alkaloids are their mydriatic effects, which cause pupil dilation. Atropine, one of the main tropane alkaloids in Atropa belladonna, was once used in eye exams and in the treatment of ocular disorders. It literally opens up the eyes, causing the pupils to become larger, taking in more light. This applies to the inner sight and the psychic senses as well. When the pupils are dilated, it gives the person large, dreamy-looking eyes. The name belladonna originates from the fact that the said drops gives to the woman who desires to please the eyes of Medusa, large, staring, and hypnotic. One of the older Latin names of this plant was Solanum hypnoticon, named for its hypnotic effects. We also see this hypnotic quality in the name dwaleberry, which means transberry, originating in Old Norse dwale and Danish dwalebear. In Germany, hunters would consume a small amount of the berries to improve their eyesight and thereby their hunting ability. It was also taken in North Africa to heighten one's mental clarity for this reason. In the Highlands of Scotland, it was said that belladonna could help one see ghosts. This effect on both physical and psychic sight make belladonna a powerful ally for seeing into the spirit world. So while the mydriatic effects or pupil dilating effects of atropine and members of the nightshade family is, something supported by science. I think that the connection between Renaissance beautification practices, in that people were putting the juice of deadly nightshade in their eyes to make them, appear more beautiful is sort of an example of an urban legend through a mistranslation that happened in the 17th, 18th century. When looking at the words belladonna, um, associating that with, or translating that to beautiful lady, is actually probably a mistranslation from bonadonna, meaning good lady, which refers to basically a deified forest spirit that we can link with the Matragunya, Lady Mandragore, referring to belladonna or deadly nightshade in Romanian practices. So I think that this is actually in reference to a forest spirit, deified forest spirit, the good lady of the forest, or Bonadonna. Deadly nightshade remains an important pharmaceutical herb even today, with medicinal actions, including its use as an analgesic, anesthetic, antispasmodic, anti-secretory, and all of the other antis. It is used in medicinal herbalism and pharmaceutical medications for its effectiveness. Due to its soporific or sleep-inducing effects, it has been applied since ancient times as an anesthetic, as well as a pain reliever. It's applied topically in the form of liniments, plasters, and ointments for pain relief. Deadly nightshade, like other members of the nightshade family, has been used topically to treat various inflammatory skin conditions and diseases such as psoriasis and eczema. It is used in surgery and in the treatment of gastrointestinal issues for its anti-secretory effects, reducing the excretion of bodily fluids. It is also used in anti-diarrhea medications and used to treat nausea. As mentioned above, it's well known for its mydriatic effects, and atropine was once commonly used by ophthalmologists in eye exams. Adding to the diversity of the plant's history and the treatment of human ailments, the belladonna cure was also used in the 20th century to treat addiction and is most popularly associated with Bill Wilson, the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous. The chemical composition of deadly nightshade consists of the tropane alkaloids hyoscyamine, atropine, and scopolamine, which it has in common with other members of the nightshade family. Its uses and effects are similar to the other tropane alkaloid containing plants mentioned in this section. Deadly nightshade, because it is potentially poisonous if ingested, is most safely used when applied topically in the form of ritual anointing oils and ointments to bring relaxation, trance states, and enhanced dreaming ability. Some of the effects when working with deadly nightshade may include enhanced sensitivity to changes in light, seeing shadow figures, feelings of ominousness, changed perception of time, the feeling of being watched, or sensing of other presences. Of course, the ingestion of tropane alkaloid containing plants can cause acute anticholinergic syndrome, which manifests in all of the uncomfortable side effects associated with tropane alkaloid toxicity. So pupil dilation, dry mouth, blurred vision, um, you can't go pee, and in extreme cases, after we get through the hallucinations, delusions, and amnesia, can result in coma and death. Despite this, Atropa belladonna and its derivative atropine have been used internally to successfully treat spasmodic issues of the gastrointestinal tract, as well as in some cases to treat things like Parkinson's and Alzheimer's. Deadly nightshade can be a powerful ally in trance and divination practice, offering profound results. It's one of my favorite herbs to work with for underworld travel and dream work. Applying a preparation of the plant material topically before sleeping or prior to entering trance to promote deep sleep with vivid dreams and potential lucid dreaming. It can be applied as an anointing oil or ointment prior to engaging in any divinatory practice or reading for others. Deadly nightshade is a powerful ally, particularly for water scrying, and as well as shadow scrying. So it's one that is particularly transgressive, which we can see just in its common English name, deadly nightshade. Typically we stay away from things that are known to be deadly to us. So simply our willingness to interact with and engage with this plant spirit, as well as its different forms and preparations, create this transgressive shift in consciousness that can allow us to tap into our intuition, as well as and especially to the spirit world through crossing that threshold. Next, we come to Mandrake. Mandrake is still as coveted and elusive as it has ever been. Its humanoid shape has drawn our attention for millennia and has contributed to this plant's ability to fascinate humankind. We draw special meaning and affinity through this resemblance and other natural occurrences resembling human anatomy, such as roots that resemble grasping hands and flowers and fruits resembling the sexual organs. In these cases, the doctrine of signatures speaks to us in literal and dramatic imagery, giving us clues as to a plant's medicinal and magical uses. The mandrake, however, is deceptively human, often taking twisted, grotesque, and even sexually explicit forms in its unique growth patterns. Other roots that have a similar shape have been used as a substitute for mandrake, both by those intending to deceive and profit off of the reputation of true mandrake, as well as by magical practitioners who realize that while mandragora refers to a specific genus and species, mandrake as a general concept refers to all roots of power that can be used as magical fetishes, spirit vessels, and containers of magical intention. The feeding and tending of root fetishes for magical purposes figures prominently in hoodoo and root work, in which practitioners employ a variety of roots of power, caring for them in similar ways to the mandragora. The mandrake is connected to death and was once believed to grow at the gallows where people were hung for crimes. In general, mandrake is connected to the spirits of the dead, and because of this is considered a powerful oracle and spiritual ally. People went to great lengths to get this gallows mandrake, for it was said to become a sort of familiar spirit, speaking in oracles when properly consulted. The mystical reputation of the mandrake root was known far and wide. The plant was associated in medieval German belief with the Auron, a devilish spirit in human form, and also an early name for mandrake in that area. The Auron revealed all secrets. It revealed all secret things touching the welfare of the family. So things like prosperity, wealth, productivity, protection, defense, protecting that wealth. Alruna is a Germanic word for seer and is linguistically associated with humanoid roots such as the mandrake, known as Auron or Auronwurzel. And Auron de Baron was the name for a mandrake bearer, one who possessed a mandrake, which was a word that was synonymous with the witch and wise woman. The word runa, meaning secret, or specifically a secret conversation, relates to the word rune. The spirit in the root was believed to be able to predict the future through prophecy and to gain knowledge that would benefit the owner. German lore tells that the mandrake root was placed beneath the pillow to bring on prophetic dreams and to converse with the spirit of the root while asleep. The mandrake, according to Lucian, dwelt on the dark side of the Isle of Hypnos with the poppy and other soporific plants used in divination. With its powerful soporific effects, mandrake is connected to the realm of sleep and dreams. In Germany, the Drache was the dragon or demonic spirit, a creature familiar who brings power and riches to those who can control it. The old hatred for mankind, for being replaced in God's grace, still lived in the mandrake. The Germans formed them from little idols to which they gave the name Alrunen. Their images were regularly habited every day and consulted as oracles. Those who kept mandrakes in their homes received information about the hidden connections of the present and the future. The Holy Roman Emperor Rudolph II was known for his interest in the occult, including alchemy and astrology, reigning from 1575 to 1612. He had some of the most extensive and diverse Kunstkammer, or cabinet of curiosities, which included a number of mandrake roots, one of them even carved to resemble Jesus on the cross. He had them dressed in costly garments, supplied with food and drink, and bathed once a week. They must not have worked for him, though, since he was forced to abdicate the throne, had poor health, and was very widely unpopular. There are many different superstitions regarding the harvesting of mandrake and various rituals that are performed to contain the plant's magical power and prevent any misfortune from befalling the person harvesting it through angering the spirit that inhabits the plant. These harvesting rituals are echoed by various authors throughout history and can be found throughout the Middle East and Europe. So the following incantation is one that can be spoken when harvesting the mandrake or other magical roots to be used in an oracular fashion to consult in divination to help incubate dreams or receive insight through communication with the spirit inhabiting the root vessel. And it goes like this. I sing to you the song of songs, great serpent in the earth, panacea to hearts that long, giant of angelic birth, dragon lord of sleeping fate and child of the fall, first of men who guards the gate, most splendorous of all. Without a sound at Golgotha there you were, a greater gift than gold, frankincense, or myrrh. Now your cry means death to those who do not know your worth. Be this to you a soothing rhyme to coax you from the earth. The medicinal actions of mandrake include its use as pain relief, sedative, anesthetic, sleep-inducing, of course, having the same anticholinergic properties, mydriatic effects, antispasmodic, and as anti-inflammatory effects, along with all of the other members of the nightshade family containing these tropane alkaloids. Along with opium, poppy, and cannabis, mandrake is possibly one of the most important medicinal plants of the ancient world. It was known throughout the ancient Mediterranean as an analgesic and anesthetic, and played a prominent role in ancient Egyptian culture, both ceremonially and medicinally. Its fruits appear in hieroglyphics with other entheogenic plants, such as blue lotus and poppy, indicating its ceremonial importance. And it was known for its ability to dispel poison of the flesh or exorcism, which may have referred to mental disturbances or other non-physical diseases. Mandrake wine was used as a sleeping agent and to treat psychological disorders in combination with other soporific ingredients to induce deep sleep. While there are different species of mandrake, they all contain similar chemical compositions, which they share in common with other members of the nightshade family that we've been discussing. All mandrake species contain tropane alkaloids. Basically the main three, atropine, hyoscyamine, scopolamine, as well as other minor tropane alkaloids in there with similar properties as well. Mandrake root can be infused into ritual wine for its intoxicating and aphrodisiac qualities, and used as an entheogen for ecstatic trance. Knowledge of its use in sex, fertility, and love magic was already in existence at the time of the Old Testament. Mandrake wine is known for causing intoxication, relaxation, and sedation. It is narcotic, hypnotic, inebriating, and hallucinogenic. This wine was also said to be given to those sentenced to crucifixion to help ease the suffering that they were about to endure. Another connection that this plant has to execution, in addition to the hangman's gallows. Mandrake has numerous potentials in divination and its related practices, trance work, and spirit communication. As an entheogen, mandrake can facilitate altered states of consciousness, and the root or living plant can be used as an oracular tool to communicate with the spirit that resides within. It can also be used as a spirit vessel for other entities that one wishes to communicate with. We can work with mandrake for the purposes of divination and spirit communication through the use of entheogenic ritual formulas, and also through the relationship with the mandrake root as a spirit fetish, which can be employed in dream working and consulted as an oracle. And we've got one more, probably the most popular and widespread, which would be thornapple or datura. So referring to all members of the datura genus, including the thornapple, datura stramonium, sacred datura, datura anoxia, datura wrightii, Indian thornapple, datura mattel. So this is a member of the nightshade family that grows on every continent and every part of the world, of course, with the exception of datura, or with the exception of Antarctica. And we also see its close relative, the Brugmansia or angel's trumpet, growing in South America, as well as parts of the southern United States. So all of these are going to have very similar chemical compositions as well as spiritual and entheogenic uses. This night blooming plant is associated with the moon, nocturnal spirits, and illusions. Datura or thornapple is used in preparations for prophecy, seeing spirits, second sight, piercing through illusions, and discovering things that have been lost or hidden. In southwestern North America, datura inoxia is used to induce dreams and visions. Yaqui shaman make an ointment of this plant using its crushed seeds and leaves, adding it to pork lard, which is rubbed on the abdomen to induce visions. A pomada de toloache made with datura inoxia is sold in witches' markets in Mexico for its magical use as well. The seeds were also consumed, and the herb was smoked with tobacco to locate lost objects, to find the source of an illness, or as a way to identify harmful sorcerers. There is an ambivalence associated with the use of this plant, and while it has been used for various ritual and oracular purposes in Mexico, it was believed that a demon lived in the seeds. Mixtec and Nahuatl-speaking people use datura inoxia as an aid in divinatory practices. It is used in healing ceremonies to bring visions and powers for healing through shamanic journeying and communication with the spirit world. In West Africa, datura metal is used in divination to reveal sorcerers with bad intent, similarly to the use of datura inoxia in Central America. So we see kind of a repeating pattern here of the use of various datura species as a form of diagnostic, whether that is to uncover the source of an illness or to identify a malefic sorcerer. The Roma are often credited with bringing datura with them throughout Europe, as the species datura metal originates in the Indian subcontinent and is the only species of datura that did not originate in North America. The plant, which may have originated in India, was used by the Roma in divination to identify a lover, to protect against the evil eye, and to determine if a sick person would recover. It is said that the Roma utilized datura seeds in a form of divination involving a ritual drum marked with various symbols, which would give meaning based on the position of the seeds on the surface of the drum. Drums marked with divinatory symbols have been used by other cultures as well. By using seeds, shells, and other objects, practitioners are able to draw omens from the movement of these objects across the surface of the drum. For example, rune drums or runeboma were also used by the Nuadi, a shamanic practitioner of the Sami people, for divination and trance journeying. The drums were marked with symbols, imagery, and figures that relate to the Sami worldview. A ring or other object would be placed upon the surface of the drum, and while tapping the drum and chanting, the movement of the object across the surface of the drum would be interpreted. Thornapple is a powerful ally for locating toxic energies and areas of imbalance for their transmutation and healing. This mimics its properties as a plant spirit medicine for helping in transmutation and alchemization of trauma, of intense emotions, negative energy, illness, all sorts of low vibration energies that can be, through partnership with the plant spirit ally, transmuted and processed. It's able to help the practitioner not only find the source of these issues, but also assist in processing and removing these influences. Thornapple can be employed in divination for spiritual diagnosis as part of a cleansing ritual or before energetic healing. In trance work, it can facilitate journeying into the past to locate the source of trauma, unhealthy attachments, and patterns so that we may learn from their lessons and release them as we move forward. Thornapple and all of the species of datura have similar medicinal actions, which they share in common with other tropane alkaloid-containing members of the nightshade family. The plant has been an indispensable medicine around the world and has been used to treat a wide range of symptoms and health issues. It's still available or still a valuable medicinal herb and is used in homeopathy, herbal medicine, and grown commercially for pharmaceutical uses. Datura is used both topically and internally to relieve pain in traditional herbal medicine and is used as an aphrodisiac and made into beverages to lower inhibitions. It has also been used in this way to treat nervous and mental disorders. In modern medicine, pharmaceutical scopolamine from the datura plant is used to alleviate motion sickness in the form of a transdermal patch. Smoke from the thornapple plant has been used widely in the treatment of asthma and other obstructive respiratory conditions, as expressed in its German name Rauschapfel, which means smoking apple. The seeds of datura metal are used in Ayurveda and Indian folk medicine to treat headache, ease pain, heal wounds, soothe muscle aches, and relax spasms, where it is also used to treat nervous disorders and opium overdoses. It is used in homeopathy under the name stramonium for various nervous disorders, nightmares, night terrors, ADHD, and OCD. The chemical composition includes the tropane alkaloids atropine, hyoscyamine, and scopolamine as other trace tropane alkaloids contained in the entire plant, and the alkaloid content can vary greatly depending on a variety of factors relating to the plant's growing conditions and maturity. The tropane alkaloid known as scopolamine has been used also as a truth serum. Thornapple has sedative, hypnotic, and visionary qualities, but like other tropane alkaloid-containing plants, can also cause aggression, excitability, and amnesia depending on dosage and method of application. Prolonged regular use can result in permanent cognitive issues. In traditional cultures where datura is still used ceremonially, it is typically smoked. Small amounts of dry leaves can be added to smoking blends. The dried flowers can also be added in small amounts. Smoking is a relatively safe way to ingest a specific amount in a more controlled way. When you're smoking, the effects are noticed more quickly, and you can determine if more is needed before accidentally taking too much. Thornapple or datura is an important ceremonial plant in every continent where it is found, with an important spiritual significance and taboos associated with it. It is an oracular herb that is used for divination and prophecy, playing an important role in the divinatory traditions of the indigenous people of southwestern North America and Central America. Thornapple is used in shamanic rituals to travel to other worlds, to the past, or even inside patients to retrieve healing. Thornapple is used in divination rituals, its entheogenic effects allowing the practitioner to communicate with spirits, deities, and to see into the other side. As a divinatory herb, datura is a powerful ally. It helps us to connect to our psychic senses and to be able to see into other realities. I describe the spirit of Thornapple as the psychedelic shaman of the nightshade family, in that it takes you on journeys and that lead to different places than some of the other members of the nightshade family. Datura can help to connect with ancestors, to access past lives, and to process trauma. So, those are sort of the four big members of the nightshade family. Of course, with special mention to tobacco, which is, very important ceremonially as well. But out of the ones that we've covered, black henbane, deadly nightshade, mandrake and the daturas. We can see that whether they are used to communicate with the dead, to enhance our ability to see or to hear or to communicate with the spirit realm, whether they are used as oracles or spirit vessels for spirit communication, or in a form of shamanic journeying, energetic diagnostics, retrieving healing information. That these plants are all very important when it comes to divination, trance work, and spirit communication. And that by looking at their um, medicinal effects, their uses in traditional medicine and medicinal herbalism, as well as coming to understand their chemical compositions a little bit more intimately, that we can see that it is possible for us to work with these plants in safe and effective ways, tapping into their entheogenic properties, to communicate with the spirit world, to connect with the divine, to access altered states of consciousness, open up our own intuition, um, enhance our dreaming ability, all of these different potential applications that can enhance our divinatory practice in some shape or form. So I hope you all enjoyed the presentation. If you're interested in learning more about the poison path, especially in the context of divination, spirit communication, and trance work, you can check out my new book that comes out March 31st, 2026. So just a few weeks from now. That is called The Poison Path Oracle. And you can get that anywhere books are sold, your local metaphysical shop, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million. You can also pre-order or get signed copies on my website, thepoisonersapothecary.com. So thank you all very much, and this is the end of my presentation.